Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Guards, which is the first book in the Night Watch series, or rather the Night Watch arc within the Discworld series. This is my first Discworld book. This is my first Terry Pratchett, and oh boy did I love it. So a little bit of background on me. I thought I didn't like absurdism. I thought I didn't like absurdist satire jokes books, and then I read One Piece and it proved me wrong, and then I thought, oh, maybe I do like this genre. So I tried The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, there's a reflection. Hang on, is that better? Is there still? Nope, that looks good. Then I tried The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It became one of my One Piece became one of my top 5 best series of all time. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy became one of my top 5 best series of all time that I've ever read. I love this genre. So then I thought, oh, I'm gonna love Discworld. And oh boy, was I right. It took me forever to start this series because it was very daunting for me to know where to start. So many people were saying, don't start at the beginning, don't start chronologically, because Terry Pratchett is still kind of getting his getting his voice. And so it's like, okay, so then where do I start? So I asked my friend where to start. He told me to start with the Witches series. So I bought the first book, or the Witches arc. So I bought the first book, and then I mentioned that I was gonna start there, and so many people said, no, start at Guards. So I got overwhelmed and I bought Guards. You're gonna probably tell me that that's wrong too. I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna do my own thing. So Guards is my first Terry Pratchett book, my first Discworld book, and it's incredible. And I'm completely hooked. Like, I will be shocked if this does not make it onto my at least top 10 favorite series of all time by the time I'm like 5 books in. My game plan, my goal is to read through the Night Watch series and then go to Witches and then go to Death, the Death arc. I keep saying series and they're arcs, I think. What do you call them? But there were a couple of scenes within Guards that really tempted me to go straight to Death. Like, stop everything, go straight to the Death arc. But yeah, everything's subject to change. Don't hold me to a thing, except hold me to my commitment to read at least one Discworld book a month for the entirety of 2023. I don't think that's gonna be a challenge even in the slightest. Anyway, enough yammering. This book was incredible. Oh my goodness. I love just like overall feelings and thoughts. I love Terry Pratchett's use of words and humor. He has that very dry, witty, clever, silly, absurd sort of British humor that is always a win. But then he also has so much fun playing with words, so much fun taking simple phrases and thoughts and ideals that we don't really think about, that we just kind of use or accept or are just in existence, and just twisting them a little bit, playing with them a little bit, and tossing them around and letting the characters use them in different sorts of ways, which was so fun. And there were quite a few things that went over my head, partially because I'm not British. I know, it's a surprise. And so there were some British turns of phrases that I was not familiar with, that I now am. And then partially because there were some like pop culture references that, I mean, I drown in a sea of pop culture today. I don't recognize half of the things that are said. Throw me back to a book that's, you know, got some age to it, and So there's some things that went over my head, and it makes me think that, oh my goodness, how much fun would Terry Pratchett have writing a book now? Sadly, I'm getting into Terry Pratchett's work after he has passed away, but I just think in today's age, the fun he would have playing with words and concepts and phrases and ideals and just turning them on their head and making you think a little bit harder. I think that he, I'm just already so impressed with him. For me, I'm far more focused as a reader, I'm far more focused on characters and theme, and it seems like as a writer, Terry Pratchett is far more focused on characters and theme. It seems like his main interest is to invoke conversation, to invoke discussion without ever giving answers, to create nuanced, interesting characters that play within those those themes and those discussions, and to just give the reader the most fun time. His use of storytelling device, his use of playing with words, his use of playing with character archetypes is half of what makes the humor so good, because he has this ability to take something so normal and usual and familiar to us and twist it slightly to make it hilarious, but also very thought-provoking. So many fun things about this book. Even the opening scene where you have the secret society and this man standing in the pouring rain, and he's going through this long series of code phrases that they have to get through in order for him to be let in. And they get like halfway down the line of these phrases, and finally there's an issue. He's saying something and they're not responding correctly. They fumble through this conversation, and finally they're just like, oh, you're in the wrong secrets. It's that one. It's further down. And it's like the idea that there's multiple secret societies that are renting out these places to meet, to discuss these issues, and to complain about being oppressed because, you know, the lady who sells the guy his vegetables is looking at him funny. So, like, obviously she's oppressing him. And you set up these scenes that are on their face just really funny, like on the surface just super funny. But then you think about, yeah, I mean, so many people are trying to have a bigger role in the world, or trying to, wanting to feel valuable, wanting to feel like they've done something, and they gather together and they discuss, but ultimately what do? And we continue to see that with the Night Watch. So Carrot, sweet Carrot, our over 6 foot dwarf, I love him. Such a fun setup, such a fun beginning, that he was raised a dwarf, and his parents are dwarfs, and he's lived in this dwarven society his whole life. And then, you know, we start off with him learning, actually, we didn't want to break it to you, but you're actually human. And him having to go off and find his way in this Night Watch society. And it's so fun because the Night Watch, the men in the Night Watch are such awesome character types just in and of themselves. You know, you've got Nob, who just you have to work thievery in your margin, essentially. Like, we're gonna lose money here. Like, our funds aren't gonna be even because Nob is here, and he is going to steal. Like, it's just something that's gonna happen, and we just have to work that into our margin. We just kind of have to budget for that. And I love that just kind of acceptance of him, of who he is. Vines, who's been laid low by a woman, who is like, it's such a great reflection of the kind of situation that they're in, because the city, the society, the structure of things, the way of the world, what's become acceptable, has really laid him low. It's really knocked him off his feet and made him just not who he once was. We kind of see him and all of them at the point where they're in this role where they should be upholding the law, but they're expected not to, and where they're just kind of tired and feeling too much like a part of the system that isn't working. And I don't know, this is another one of those things where it's all written with so much humor and so much fun, but at the end of the day, like, who doesn't sometimes feel like they're just a part of a job that ultimately is insignificant, that ultimately, like, what's their purpose? What are they actually doing? And feeling like a pawn in the greater scheme of things, and not feeling useful, not feeling worthwhile, not feeling like your life is actually making any sort of difference. And in this very humorous way that the Night Watch are set up to be, in this very silly, comedic, funny, nonsense thing, you also have very much a reflection of how a lot of people feel in their day-to-day lives, and in the work that they do, and in the grander scheme of, you know, what's expected of them. And then you have Carrot, who is like the most wholesome, sweet, lovely character. He's so kind, and he just genuinely cares, and also a bit he doesn't understand. He's an outsider. He's a dwarf. He's a dwarf through and through. That's, maybe not biologically, but that's how he's been raised and that's who he is. And so stepping into this society, he's kind of the outside point. He's the one who hasn't been kind of laid low by the way of the world, by the way, the expectations of this society. And so he comes in with these doe eyes and he comes in with these good intentions. He takes things extraordinarily literally and he does his job. He's read the law book. He knows what's expected of him. So, okay, let's go. Let's do. There's one point where I don't even remember the scene. I read this book 3 weeks ago. I read this. This was the first thing that I read on vacation. So 3 weeks ago, I read this book, which means that things are already fuzzy because my memory is just genuinely that bad. But there was a person that he arrested, and the commentary was like, why'd you do it? Why would he have arrested this person? And it was like, well, he was breaking the law. He was doing this and this and this and like harming people. And he was like, okay, yeah, and what? Like, what was the reason for doing so? And it's comedic, it's funny, it's silly, it's goofy that Carrot is just trying to do what his job description is, but the expectation is like, don't do anything. Don't do your job. You're just here, like crime is acceptable here. We just needed some sort of organization to it. Organized crime is going to happen, or crime is going to happen no matter what. So let's just make it organized. And like the play on the words of what that means for this story is just, it's brilliant. But Carrot really is kind of like the fresh blood, like the new blood. He's the recruit. He's the newbie who comes in all doe-eyed and excited and expecting to be able to make a difference, and everybody else is aware of the bureaucracy, is aware of the expectations, and aware of how ineffective they are, how little they are, and how little they can actually do to make a difference. And so they're all very cynical and Carrot comes in with, it's kind of like that sort of dynamic that you see in so many different scenarios, and usually the doe-eyed guy kind of gets laid low. He gets humbled and he's like, oh, this is what it actually is. But instead, Carrot kind of stays up high and reminds the rest of the Night Watch what they can do and kind of reinvigorates them, which I really, really love. There's also just so much discussion about humanity. Our villain, our baddie, is someone who really just understands people, understands their inner workings, understands what makes them tick and how they respond to things, and understands how to manipulate that. And so it's like, I'll allow crime, but only so much and only in certain context. I'll allow people to be unhappy, but only so far so that they're discontent, but they won't rebel. And it's like, again, on the surface, it's like, ooh, clever, interesting, what a fun character. But, we could discuss this for a real long time. This idea of people in power intentionally causing discontent without even getting controversial about it. Just talking about something as simple as social media, which its algorithm, especially, I'm pretty sure TikTok is especially like this, where its algorithm is specifically designed to give you not actually what you want, not what you're actually looking for, close enough to it though that you're satisfied, but not close enough that you're fully satisfied. So you want to keep scrolling because that's almost exactly what I was looking for. So you scroll a little bit more to try to get a little bit closer to what you were looking for. And TikTok's, the way it's set up is specifically to make it so that you can't just go find what you want. Like, you have to scroll. It's required. This isn't an anti-TikTok video. I don't care. I genuinely don't care enough to have a position on TikTok. Like it, don't like it, it affects me none. But my point is, social media is set up to do this, to give you not quite what you want, but to make you a little bit discontent, to give you some bad news, to give you something that'll kind of ruffle your feathers and upset you. Not enough to make you leave, just enough to make you lean in a little bit more, just make enough to keep you here. And so many other, even just like celebrity controversies where celebrities intentionally do something to upset people, to get themselves on your radar, not enough to make you hate them, just enough to make you hate them for a moment. Enough so the controversy can fade, but their name can stay relevant. Just enough to get you on their lips again so they can get relevant again. Like, it's an intentional move. I'm trying, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is just what happens in the world. People who understand the way the human mind works, the subconscious will intentionally, this is so smart. And not only that, but also the villain has this grand understanding of humanity of like how far humans will go, how much humans will accept and will be willing to go along with if it means that they'll get something out of it, or if it means that they're not actually the ones being affected by what's happening. Oh, you need a human sacrifice, but it won't affect my family? I mean, that sucks. But if it means that that the rampaging dragon will stop, if it means that this, net positive will happen, I mean, sure, it sucks, but like maybe we could human sacrifice, maybe we might could. And it's this concept, this idea, the villain is extraordinarily brilliant because it's a villain who understands humans, written by a man who understands humans. And so the discussions that the villain has, the conversations that the villain has about humanity and their failings and their faults, and like the dragon being shocked that humans would actually like genuinely do this, even though like that's the dragon's goal, but like you would turn on each other? Like, you would actually do this? It's like, you think we could have conversations on conversations on conversations just about this one thing. It's so brilliant. And Pratchett is so good that he brings these things up in this satirical, funny, silly way and then doesn't give answers. And so it's like, I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm just trying to ask questions so that you can start thinking. And it's funny, it's lighthearted, it's silly, it's wacky, it's goofy, and it makes me think. Like, it's a great conversation. Yeah, the conversation around, how far humans will go, what humans will justify, what humans will accept as their new norm, if it means that there's an exchange that is a net that will overall profit them. They'll do it of their own free will, and in time, they'll come to believe that it was their own idea. It'll be a tradition. Take it from me, we humans are adaptable creatures. The dragon gave him a long, blank stare. In fact, before too long, if someone comes along and tells them that the Dragon King is a bad idea, they'll kill him themselves. The dragon was horrified. You have the effrontery to be squeamish, but we are dragons. We're supposed to be cruel, cunning, heartless, and terrible. But this much I can tell you, Abe. We never burned and tortured and ripped one another apart and call it morality. Oh, stop! Stop it right now! Tell me you can't have an hour-long discussion on that alone. And what's fun too is there's so many different, that's not even the quote that I set out to find. There was a quote that something along the lines of, I'm cynical because generally whatever I can think up of what the world could be in my cynical mind, the world will do worse. Which is like so sad. And I'm a very optimistic person, probably annoyingly so. You can talk to my husband about that. And so I read that and I just kind of chuckled, like I thought it was funny. I read it to my husband, who kind of can lean towards cynicism and tries really hard not to lean too far into that. And he like chuckled and then just like slumped, like his body language just kind of deflated. And he was like, that's really sad. Because like he could relate to that if he let himself go down that very cynical mind path. And that's another great thing, is the way Pratchett presents things, again, without giving any sort of solution, without putting any sort of morality on it. Even the stuff that I just read, that conversation, that back and forth, that was more leaning towards like, oh, humans would do this? That is challenged from another character, and he views things from multiple angles, and he kind of has this conversation where it's not just like, here's what the author thinks, so every character is going to preach this. No, there's like conversations from lots of different angles, so that you have to think about it from many different angles without ever saying, so kids, here's what you learned today, And it's such good writing. But anyway, because of the way he just presents things and then leaves it for you, because of that, people from different perspectives, different life experiences, different mentalities can read something and respond to it differently and have different kinds of conversations off of it. This isn't much of a book review, is it? I'm just kind of like gushing about how brilliant he wrote. Like, it's just, there's a plot here. There's lots of characters that haven't even been mentioned. Let's talk about Sybil for a minute, or Civil, or whatever her name was, the dragon lady, the ultimate cat lady that's actually a dragon lady. She's brilliant. Everything, every line she gives, her perspective on the world, her placement in the story of being able to understand things. I love her. And just everything, every scene she was in, she's brilliant. There's so many characters that I haven't even mentioned at this point that are ingenious. The story, the plot itself is so much fun. Oh, this is delicious. Oh my goodness, what am I drinking? But I think the thing that I take away from this story the most, other than the humor, which is just fantastic. Actually, let me talk about the humor for a second. The humor, the scenes like, I bet I can find it. Scenes like when we have like 1,000,000 to 1 chance, right? We need to shoot the dragon down. We need to get him in his vulnerables. I don't even know how you would say that out loud. We need to get the dragon in his vulnerables. And it's 1,000,000 to 1 chance. You know what I'm talking about. You read it. It's 1,000,000, oh my goodness, it's brilliant. It's 1,000,000 to 1 chance. And who is to say that somewhere in the millions of other possible universes, it might have worked. That was the sort of things that the gods really liked. But chance, who sometimes can overrule even the gods, has 999,999 casting votes. In this universe, for example, the arrow bounced off a scale and clattered away into oblivion. They have this 1,000,000 to 1 chance. But it has to be exactly 1,000,000 to 1. And they were banking everything on this. And whoops, it didn't happen. The odds won this time. And all the buildup that led to that moment for it to end on such a petering note is in and of itself so funny. The humor in that, I laughed out loud throughout this entire book. I had so much fun. The characters were so lovable and endearing and charming and odd in their own ways, and I had so much fun on the surface of this book. But what blows me out of the water about this book, what makes this book something that I'm committing to read 1 book out of the series every single month this year is that on the surface, the humor and the plot and the characters, it's all so enjoyable, but that's never gonna be enough to make me this crazy about a series 1 book in. What's gonna get me there is that it has all those things that make it so exciting and fun and makes me laugh and smile the whole way through and read quotes to anyone that's in my vicinity while I'm reading. But it's that he goes so much deeper without being in your face. He's so subtle. Pratchett puts so much emphasis on themes that I haven't even talked about. There's classism in here, there's hierarchies, there's royalties, there's so much that's brought to the discussion table in this story. And that he does this all throughout the book, but in this way that's also light and charming and silly and fun, but it's there. It's there, and it's kind of hard not to dig into in your own time. It's kind of hard not to just read it on the surface and have a nice time. You kind of have to have these conversations that Pratchett presents without really entering the discussion himself. He just presents them and says, all right, I trust you. Talk. Think. And I love that. Oh man. I really like this book. This review, like I said, I read this book about 3 weeks ago. I usually try to do reviews within a day or 2 after finishing a book. I usually try to read closer to me completing the book because I want to really dig in and really get into it. And I feel like I kind of failed with this book a bit, so I'm sorry if there are certain plot points or characters that you really wanted to dig into more. I guess this is more of an overall appreciation from my very first Discworld book and how incredibly I think it was written. It did so many things well that I genuinely think that if we wanted to dig into characters, plot, humor, and themes and give each one all the attention they deserve, we could be here for hours. This very short, very humorous book, I genuinely believe we could be here for hours without even trying. And I think that that is an extraordinary ability that I very rarely see books written with this kind of skill and to be pulled off on so many layers. Like I actually don't have a complaint about this book. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't have a single thing to nitpick. And I'm a really good nitpicker. I'm very, very good at that craft. And I don't have a one. I think I loved everything about this book. I think there's not a thing that I want to complain about. I don't know. Anyway, Men-at-Arms. I've already requested it from the library. It should be here soon. I'm trying not to buy very many books here at the beginning of the year. So you won't see me physically holding them probably, but I did get it from the library. I got the ebook. I haven't gotten it yet. I'm in line for it. And it will be read in February. I don't know what the interest level is for discussions for each of these books. If you are interested in continuing discussions, please do let me know in the comments, and I will make sure to read Men-at-Arms. I'll make sure to do a review for it immediately after reading it so we can really dig in if that's something that you want to do. If not, then I can just wait until I complete all of the Night Watch arc, and then we can just talk about the whole arc all together. That's what I normally do with series, but for series that I love on on their own level, then I'm happy to do a book by book discussion. If that's something that you're interested in, if that's something that you want, please let me know. We'll make it happen because I'm so hooked. I'm one book in and I'm so completely 100% in. Anyway, we've been talking long enough, hey? Guards, Terry Pratchett, excellent book. Best book I read this month. A contender for best of the year unless Pratchett outdoes himself, which would be, I mean, like, yeah, let's go. I'm so into it. I post videos. This is my second channel where I do more book reviews, in-depth discussions, sit down chat, more of that kind of style stuff. So on this channel, I post videos every Tuesday and Thursday. On the main channel, we do videos on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This month, maybe just Monday and Friday. We'll see. I'll see you again soon. Bye.